and welcome back to another episode of Gaming at the Round Table. I'm Crystal with Maverick and JoJo. So, with this one, something happened this past weekend. Dun dun dun.
Xbox rules.
No,
That's not what happened.
That's not what happened. No. As we know, PlayStation servers went down for like what, 23 hours?
Yeah,
Just shy of 24.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I, for one, didn't know what to do with myself.
You know what's funny is that it actually went down for a similar amount of time, or like maybe 7 hours, whatever, less than a day, about half a year ago. And no one bat an eye, comparatively. It's that I think the timing of the outage this time was...
Because it was a Friday.
Yeah, people were like, I want a game on the weekend. I can't game. This is stupid.
Yeah.
What was funny was that it went out, and I was still able to game for 2 hours before it even caused me an issue. Because I was playing one game, and then I was swapping over to play something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I noticed that the PSN, whatever, was down. And then it said, oh, you can't play this game. And I was like, what? So at first, I thought it was an issue with the game that I was trying to play.
Yeah.
Because that game's had issues with their server. So I swapped over to my Xbox and I booted up the same game. And then when when I got in without issue, I was like, oh, there's something wrong with the PSN then.
Yeah.
But that's how I found out. I didn't even realize until that happened.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, first of all, it did come in kind of waves almost. Some users reported outages longer than other users, and I have theories as to why, technical aside. The reason you probably didn't notice at first was because there are tokens on the internet, and sometimes they're like, here's your access key. It'll last for, say, 2 hours. But after 2 hours, you need a new special key. And then they're like, well, we can't give you a new one. So some people might have experienced it sooner rather than later. That being said, on the tail end is something I wanted to talk about, because when the network came back up, by and far, I still couldn't play a lot of the games that I play because many of them are gacha games, and something with gacha games, and it's not exclusive to them, is that many of them use the PlayStation Network specifically for your account. And so I found that a lot of games that you had to use your PlayStation Network account to log in with stayed down longer than the games where you just needed internet or access to the PSN in general. Because I could see my user like logged in at the next day, but I still couldn't play certain games.
That's how I noticed it. It was, again, that I was still in, but then I couldn't play. I believe I was playing First Descendant.
Yeah.
So when I was playing, no problem. And then again, when I swapped, I was like, wait a minute. Then it stopped working.
So outages happen. There's no company or website or anything on the face of the planet that isn't susceptible to outages. Interestingly, the longest outage was substantially longer than this one. So this was just under a day, right? I think it was in 2011 or so that they had a multi-month outage. I actually experienced it. It's just too long ago to remember. Let me see if I can find the duration. It was like 24 days or something. I have it pulled up somewhere, but it was over 20 days worth. And it was so bad that they, first of all, unlike this one, they announced the reason why.
It was in 2011.
Yep. In 2011, they had this massive outage because of an attack. And then after that outage, a lot of interesting things happened. Crystal, you might know some of this. So you go first, and then there's one piece I'll fill in. On the spot. No, okay, fine. The one piece I want to mention is that they actually changed their terms of service so that people couldn't file lawsuits due to outages without going through an arbitrator. So I'm going to presume that they got sued.
Maybe.
I think what made a lot of people nervous with this one, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, it's good.
But with this one, it was more of, they said that it was operational issues, but I think a lot of people are still kind of shaky with the fact that they got hacked not too long ago. So they're like, why aren't you giving us a specific reason? Because even their official response was, or their reply to everything was, network services have fully recovered from an operational issue. We apologize for the inconvenience and thank the community for their patience. All PlayStation Plus members will automatically receive an additional 5 days of service. But again, nothing like just operational issue.
Well, you could think about it this way. If someone that worked for them just tanked a server on accident, I mean, they're going to be like, yeah, we fired somebody who was stupid. Now, I do think it was probably an attack, right? This company is really big. The market is cutthroat. So you know they're doing everything that they can to ensure that their uptime is as close to 100% as possible. So it's hard to imagine any other scenario other than an attack. And on that point, you have to be very careful in cybersecurity arena saying you got attacked because one, it tells attackers 100% there is a vulnerability you can exploit because someone just did.
Yeah.
And two, you have to be super vague anyway, because you're not going to be like, yeah, they got in through the root DLL weakness that we have. Don't do that, please. Right? Like
that's like the teachers who are like, you know, don't make bombs at home. This is
here's how.
Like,
yeah.
what?
The other aspect too is like, if you say you were attacked, it may give, and to their credit, it may give the populace an unintended perception that their integrity, their data was harvested, which may not be the case. They could just get DDoSed into the ground by some 13-year-old that has a good computer program and no data is lost. It's just that their servers all crash. But when you say you get attacked, people are like, well, did your data get leaked? Can we sue you? Can we sue you?
Yeah. Heavy on the can we sue. Now, Joe, you brought up that Sony had compensated the people. How do you guys feel about that? 5 extra days on your
garbage.
That's one of those, like, you just ran a mile, so they're going to pat you on the back like you just did something, and it's like,
Well, to be fair, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for 1 second. Let me answer your question first, then I'll play devil's advocate later.
Okay.
I think it's meh.
Okay.
Meh. But I do want to play devil's advocate after you respond.
So you won't see those 5 days until after you end your subscription. So say I started my subscription today for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I'm finally like, oh, shoot. All right. Well, I don't like PlayStation. Let me cancel my subscription. And they're like, oh, okay, your year's done. Here's your 5 days.
You know what's really the only reason that matters is because people like to get deals. So let's say it's a Black Friday deal or end of year deal where you want to renew your subscription for that discounted price. Well, you're not going to get those 5 days until the end of all of it, right? So it's kind of clever on their part, kind of meh.
I do want to point out one thing as far as attacks and things like that on gaming systems. The most recent one was, and this is from an article from Tom Warren of The Verge, that there was an attack in December of 2024. So that's recent.
Really recent.
But not on PSN.
It was on Xbox. So it was a massive DDoS account on Xbox's source servers back in December. So they're saying it's possible that Sony is dealing with something similar, but again, they're not outright saying it because I think they got it under control pretty quick. Because in the tech world, to get something under control that's massive inside of a day or two is pretty quick. Because if it's serious enough, it takes you down. Like, it's hard to bounce back from something when it's like pulling the plug on you. And if the power's out everywhere, how are you going to have power?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out that it's happened and it happened recent. I think that's also why people are a little bit skeptical, because there are people that play on both.
Mm-hmm. Weirdos.
But or those with access to higher things. No, I don't belong to PC Master Race, so I play on my... I use little hand gestures for those that can't see.
Because there's little hands for those that can't see.
I'm going to crawl off into the distance now and cry in a corner.
I'm just joking. He's only short. So the counter argument to this was that
Monster.
could you imagine running any other company, right? Like gamers were fuming. Understandably, I was frustrated. It was my weekend. I work full time. I work more than full time. And I want to play when I can play. So yes, super frustrating. We're with everybody on that. It's important to realize that like this sucks for them more than it sucks for us. Imagine you're running your local bakery. You put all this time and energy and lifespan into finally setting up your own business. And then someone comes in and smashes every table in your place and knocks off all your ingredients onto the floor. And then you have to spend the whole weekend recovering, getting new tables, repairing everything that was damaged, making sure the person doesn't come back, all that stuff. And then the next Monday, people come up with pitchforks and they're like, you owe us for being closed. How dare you get attacked and shut down? I wasn't able to buy my pastries.
Yeah.
Give me free stuff.
Yeah.
It would be terrible.
Yeah.
To that point, I think that makes the argument of everything being so digital being very problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Crystal has anything to say about that, but I think a lot of people feel a kind of way about the fact that, again, I don't think it's 90%, but I think it's past 50% where most of the market now for gaming is digital.
Yeah.
On some level, even if you have the physical disc, you need something digital.
You're going to download the patch as soon as you put it in.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I mentioned the, I guess, compensation, right? You do realize there are people that don't have subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
Those 5 days mean nothing to them.
Yeah.
So they get nothing from their servers being down.
Willy Wonka moment.
They got free Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, I did hear about that. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this. I've not heard.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme realized that there was an issue on PSN, so they put out something saying that it says, calling all gamers, this PlayStation still works. Grab a free original glazed donut today from 5 to 7 because Sweet Rewards don't need a server.
Oh, shade. And they were willing to pay for the
God.
shade. Wow.
I
But
mean,
you
that
know,
was
Krispy Kreme is always
smart.
looking for a reason to give away donuts. I don't know what it is.
I mean, hey, that was a smart move from my end.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if there are any other companies. For anyone listening, let us know if you guys heard about anything like that. That's really cool.
Savage.
Savages. Just
Well
got
played.
attacked by a
Well
donut
played.
company. Jeez.
I mean,
That's
kick them
neat.
while they're down. But,
Exactly. Well, that just goes to show how prominent not only gaming but even just the PlayStation Network is in daily life. So many people aren't gamers, and if they aren't, they're definitely not listening to this podcast. But many of us are, and it's so ingrained that like when things like this happen, oh, you couldn't game for a day? Riot. Free stuff.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something I think Joe brought up. You made a really good counter argument, which was if I bought a game, regardless of the PlayStation Network, it's kind of a combination of things you guys just said. You don't have a subscription to PSN. You bought a video game. If you couldn't play because your PSN couldn't like connect, even though you don't have the PS Plus or whatever, you should still be able to play your game that you own, or well, own the rights to play. And so, yeah, that's very frustrating that their compensation is limited to those with subscriptions. And how, to their credit, how do you compensate people that don't have a subscription?
I was going to say, like, how do you compensate somebody that's not paying for anything?
So you know how they recently released for free some themes for the PlayStation, where they were all the old PlayStation themes? People were saying they could have gifted a free theme pack. You know, it could have been just plain colors, right? They could have done something that every player could enjoy that doesn't have to, it could have been a free game, you know? They're a gaming company. If you
And I
give
believe
people
that
a
wasn't
free-
permanent either.
They'd have to take the money out of somebody's pocket, right? Like,
which they're not going to do. So
Yeah.
Not my pockets. They're taking out of yours.
mm,
Yeah, it's tough. Outages in general are tough. It is good to note that on a very positive perspective, back in 2011, an outage from an attack lasted almost a month.
28 days.
And since
Or
then,
23, sorry.
the attacks, when they do go down, have holistically gotten shorter and shorter and shorter, such that while there were 2 in the last half year on PSN alone, let alone Xbox, under a day. That's really not bad.
I mean,
Life is good.
23 days to 23 hours seems a lot more reasonable.
I feel so silly I didn't draw that parallel. Yes,
It depends on where you look, but some people said that it was as short as 18 hours and then as long as just under a day.
So Crystal asked how we all felt about the compensation, a collective shrug. I'm curious what we think, anybody thinks. What would you do if you were PlayStation? Because I get the feeling most people that have answered that question already on Twitter or elsewhere are probably saying, I do something I wouldn't actually do because it would cost me a lot of money, but I expect them to do.
I still stand by what I was saying about like some kind of silly free thing, right? Like a free theme or
That doesn't require
maybe
a subscription.
that doesn't require a subscription. Something that, yes, it's going to cost a little bit to have somebody design this stuff up, and they already have everything implemented, right? So it's not like they have to create something new to implement it. It's just getting an artist to design something. So I feel like if you're a multi-millionaire company, okay, billionaire, probably, realistically, you can afford to compensate all of your player base for something that went down. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I feel bad for the company because something bad happened, like you were mentioning? Yes. But like if I owned a company today, right, and somebody broke my tables, that could break my company. Their servers going down for one day didn't break their company.
They lost a ton of money. Think about it.
Oh, they did.
How
I know
much
they
money
did.
do they make when their store is up?
You
On
know,
a
I'm
Friday
sure.
night.
I'm almost
Right.
positive there were people that bought a PlayStation, took it home, couldn't get on their servers, and returned it because
And it was
of the
a
situation.
Super Bowl weekend, so there's a lot of advertising that they lost.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they definitely paid. They paid. It's just a matter of the community wants them to pay more. And I think we all disagree a little bit as to how much. I think what they've done is sufficient. I also think it sucks. It's not that great. It's like not even worth mentioning.
I mean, a
But
lot
they
of people don't
did
even see it.
something. And it's hard for me not to put myself in their shoes. No matter how many millions of dollars they make, I know they lost a ton of money. More money than just giving away the 5 days, right? They lost sales on a very pivotal weekend. So that's my perspective. I might be in the minority. That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, I think I've been gaming long enough that I don't. It's not really going to be too bad. I mean, if it's, I think it has to be multiple days for me to be kind of like, hey, this is kind of jacked up.
Mm.
A night and a half or a day. Because again, most of our generation, we do other things throughout the day and then we sit down and play. I mean, if I'm a kid and I get home on a Friday night and I can't play, like my world probably just imploded.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like I get it. Like you can't really do much about it.
It's because we're the new generation of boomers. We're all like, you couldn't play for a game? You couldn't play a game for a day? Have you heard of grass? It's outside. You can like go touch it for a little bit. So, we'll see what people react with.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. For starters, though, I want to say Happy Valentine's Day, since this episode is coming out on Valentine's Day. Don't forget to love people and whatever. I don't know. Go shoot some
Plus
things
5
in a
days
video
of
game.
subscription. Whatever.
Yeah, that's that. Anyways, thank you again for joining us with this episode of Gaming at the Round Table. And I'm Crystal with Maverick and Joe. Bye.